Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to see all of you. I am sorry that I won't get to see your nice faces so far because this is the way we're going to do this today is a little more technically upgraded than what we've had, thanks to the main campus helping us with some of these things. So I want to thank first Jen and Zach, of course, for making this happen, and then for the main campus. We really appreciate all the technical support. They've been wonderful as we move forward. So that being said, let's get started. A few housekeeping messages first, which I'd like to say is that there is closed captioning. So if you need it, at the bottom of the screen, it says see closed captioning. You can punch on that, and we have someone that's able to do that this time. So we really appreciate that also. What I'm going to do is just give you a brief opening and tell you how much I appreciate you. And then what we're going to do is that we have some questions. We're going to answer those. You'll be able to ask questions in the chat, and I'll see if I can answer those, and we'll do the best we can within the hour. We have about an hour's time frame to do this in. If we don't get your question answered, we will be able to do that online and try to do that. This will be recorded, so Zach's going to share a website where you can find all of this information, and if you want to watch this again and find some of the answers, you can, or if you know someone that didn't get to see it, they can. So I also want to tell you that we're going to try to do this about every 2 weeks now until we get back to campus, so that you will have the answers to the questions as best we can give them to you. Now, we do have some answers today. We hope they won't change, but I won't make any promises. As you know, this is a changing world, and everything is different than it has been. And so things could change as we move down this road. So please remember that as we answer the questions and talk about things, there could be changes as we go. As soon as we know what changes are, you can go to the website and to the WVU and the WVU Tech website, and where it says opening of campus, and there will be all kinds of answers to those questions. And if something changes, it will be there, and we will try to get the information out to you. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is that the website that we're talking about has all this answers on it. So I'm not going to go into anything with a great detail, especially because I know people are going to want to ask some questions, and I want to be able to answer as many as humanly possible. But I do want to make sure that I kind of go over the campus and the calendar for the year. So we will be back on campus normal. We will be back on campus normal time, I should say. I don't think anything's ever going to be normal again, but maybe it will be. But we'll be back on campus, and first day of classes will be the 19th, and that was always supposed to be the first day of classes. So that will not change. There will be a difference in when our athletes are coming in, where there will be what we called a phased in for students that are coming and going into the dorms. They will receive a schedule, and we'll know more about that as we move down this road. We will not have a fall break, and we will go until the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That will be our last day on campus with face-to-face academics. Then the week after Thanksgiving will be, I think in the old days we called it dead week, but it can be a week of instruction. However the faculty wants to do that. It can be online, it's numerous ways. That will be discussed later with the provost and how they decide to do that. And then the next week will be finals, and those will be online or in different methods than on face-to-face. So in actuality, the last day of face-to-face classes during this fall semester will be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So then our students will go home. Now, not all of them will. We still will have some athletes on campus, and that will be discussed down the road. But the regular student body will go home and not come back until I believe it is the second or third week in January, and we'll worry about that semester when we get there. But It will be different. There won't be a spring break. And so we'll be starting a week later than we had anticipated in the spring, and then finishing on time, but there will be no breaks. There will be a few days here and there that they're going to have so that students and faculty and staff can have a little bit of a rest, but we will not be having that full spring break. The other thing I want you to talk about real quickly is testing. WVU, I think very wisely, has made the decision that everyone needs to be tested. That includes faculty, staff, instructors, everyone, and students. So there will be a process to that. The process itself is being set up right now. The first people that probably will be tested will be people that live close. In other words, that commute, and we have quite a few of those, especially our students and our faculty. And then also our athletes, as they come back on campus, they will be tested. Now, I know the question is always asked, and people say, well, I don't understand. They can test student A or faculty B one day, and they can go out and get it the next day. And there's truth to that. Nobody's going to say it isn't. But we need a line in the sand so we know where to stand. We need that baseline to know exactly who came to campus. And if we have a problem to start with, then we need to be able to isolate that one. On the tech campus, we'll be using the two houses that the very first year we were here on campus, our full campus, we used for housing because of an overflow. We will use those two houses to isolate students if we do have students. And of course, faculty and staff will be asked to stay at home in quarantine. Now, I want to make it very clear that things are different, and they're going to be different. Our classrooms will look different. We will have distancing in them. Most of our classrooms, if not all of them, will only be holding about half the number of students. We are looking very closely at tech of how to do that so that we have as few of online courses as humanly possible. And I think we've done a great job up to this point. We hope by July 1, just like we said yesterday in the campus conversation, that we'll have all of that worked out, knowing what we are. But the provost is working very closely with the chairs. The chairs are working very closely with the faculty. And I can't say enough about that. I know the faculty are not on campus and the chairs are not on contract, but everybody has been so wonderful to work with and to step up to the plate. And I want to say thank you to all of them. People on campus have worked hours and hours and hours, longer than we've ever seen before, because of all the things that we need to do. So everybody is working hard. And the main reason we're working hard is we want to make the very best experience for students that is possible. We want to make sure our students continue to get to know their faculty, to interact with their faculty, and to feel like they are a part of the tech family. And so we're going to work very hard to see that all of that is done. So those are some of the things that we are working at. The other thing I'd like to say as we move along is, of course, masks will be very important, and they will be required in the classroom and in the buildings. We'll have different ways of probably moving about in the buildings. Some corridors will be one way and some will be another way. We'll have ways of distancing when we come into the cafeteria, to the Bears Den. But we're going to make those work, and we're going to make them work as seamlessly as humanly possible. And I know there's some questions about what happens, and I'll answer those later when we get ready to do questions. But we all are going to have a new normal. But if there is ever a campus that knows how to do change and how to adapt and is nimble and flexible, it's WVU Tech. And I'm so proud of how you handled the spring semester and the quickness we had to change things, and with what great quality you did that. So as we do this, we are going to have a lot of things that we'll all have to get used to. And some of us are going to get used to things that we don't like. And you know, that's just going to be part of life. I don't like this, sitting here at a desk talking to you into a camera. That is not what I want to be doing. And I make no bones about it. But it is what we have to do right now to keep our faculty and our students and our staff and everyone that we surround ourselves with, including our families when we go home, safe. And that is our bottom line. Quality education, interaction with our faculty, making sure everyone is as safe as humanly possible. So with that, I'm going to ask Jen to give me some of the questions that have been asked, and we will move from there.
Okay, Carolyn, our first question is, will students be de-enrolled from classes to accommodate the required physical distancing?
And the answer is no. We will not de-enroll, in essence, any of our students. What we are going to do is we are doing different ways. First of all, we've changed a lot of rooms so that we are having a room that accommodates those number of students that they need. We've taken some of the rooms on the campus and turned them into classrooms. One of them being Carter Hall, another of them being down at Neville. So we've done a lot of those, of looking at how do we enlarge those rooms so that we have the distancing that is acceptable for the CDC. Then we also will have some classes that will be flex. In other words, they may come to class 2 days a week, and 1 day a week they may have an extra assignment, or they may have a Zoom meeting or something of that nature. We have also looking at doing classrooms that are side by side. And so that if you have a class of 30 and a classroom can only hold 15, we have 2 classrooms right side by side. They will have a camera and a Zoom, and the faculty member will be able to go between those. Those are the ways that we plan on making sure that our students have a quality education by interacting also with the faculty and keeping the faculty safe. We also have done some things that maybe I should mention to make sure the faculty feel comfortable. We have ordered plexiglass for around their desks and their lecterns to be used so that they will feel comfortable and maybe not have to use a mask while they lecture. The students will have the mask on, but the plexiglass, they can do both, but that may make them feel even more comfortable as we move along. So we're doing things to make sure that the faculty and staff and everyone feels safe. But we want our students to have that great interaction with their faculty, and we're working very hard to see that done. Now, when we get ready to schedules, they may have to do some adapting. We may have to look at some schedules and say, okay, can we do this or that? And we hope by July 1, we have all of that set as much as possible. But I do want to say that it's very, very important to understand that things are changing. And so some of these things may change. They may get better and they may get more stringent. We don't know. But students will be required to have masks in class. That will be a requirement. And we will work with them to make sure that we have the equipment. We'll make sure that the faculty has the equipment they need, and we'll find ways to make all of this work.
Carolyn, the next question was asked in advance, as well as we had it in the live chat or the live Q&A. Is it mandatory for all faculty to be tested, or can they opt out? And then also a question, is there ability to refuse to wear masks or to refuse to be tested, and what will that plan be?
At this point, that's still being discussed at great length, but at this point, everyone will need to be tested. Now, folks, this is not a blood test. This is not even the test that they first started with, where they took the long swab and inserted it up your nose a great deal. This is a very simple test. It is not invasive other than a swab in the front part of your nose. It happens quickly and it happens totally painlessly. So I don't think there will be any exceptions. If there is, it probably would have to be a medical exception, but they're working on that. And so it will be required for faculty, staff, and students at this point. And the same thing will happen with the masks in the classroom. We will require them to be used in the classroom, and there could be disciplinary consequences if a student or even a faculty member refuses to use protection as we move along.
We have a question about course delivery. To clarify that the request for accommodations due to COVID-19 applies to only folks who are at risk as defined by the guidelines. Specifically for instructors, could they change the method of instruction if they have to deliver that face-to-face? Meaning, could they give the opportunity for assignments, exams to be online instead of paper-based to limit contact?
Well, I think in some cases, working with the provost and your chairs, those things could be looked at. The main concern we have is we have to be very cognitive that we do have students that do not have broadband services, that do not, and that's why we're being very careful here, because we have students that do not have the ability to have that at their homes. So we have to be very careful how we do these. We cannot put a student at risk of either not finishing a class or failing a class because of not having that ability. But I think all of those things can be talked with the chairs and with the provost as we move forward. But yes, when you're talking about the complete accommodation, that does need to go through, as on the website, through medical management, and there is a form. But to adjust some of the things in your classroom, I think we will be as liberal as possible with making sure none of our students are hurt with those policies.
The next one is related to student schedules. A question from a faculty member. I imagine some students will want to make adjustment to their schedule after June 30th, but most faculty are off contract during this time. Do we have a plan in place as to how we will address such an issue related to schedule or schedule changes?
The plan, we don't have a plan finished. We have a plan that's being discussed. And so we will have a plan by then in ways to help. The first thing we have to do is get everyone scheduled, and then we will work with the students one-on-one down the road, and there will be a process to do that. But to tell you that I have it in writing and ready to put it on the website, I don't, but we're working on it.
Going back to masks again, mask will be a requirement in the classroom. What will be the protocol for students who forget to bring their mask to class? Do we turn them away, or will faculty be given a few extra masks ahead of time to share with students, or will there be spare masks available elsewhere?
I think all three of those things will be happening. If you have a student that just forgot, I think you'll be able to have some extra. I think there will be some located in every building so we can get to them quickly. And I also think that there is a possibility, sadly, that we may have a student that says, I will not, and then they will be asked to leave the classroom. But the students, you got to remember also, along with faculty and staff, everyone will be receiving at the beginning of the year, they will receive masks to begin with. So they will all have a supply to begin with, but we will work with faculty and staff to make sure they have extras.
Will there be a 14-day quarantine period for international students?
At this point, no, as long as they are immediately tested. It looks like most of our international students we will test when they come to campus like everyone else, and therefore until their tests come back, they will be quarantined, but that should be a several days, not many, not more than 3, I'm told. And so therefore there won't be a long quarantine period for them or for anybody else.
We have a question about office hours and meetings. Should faculty plan to do all office hours virtually? And I also think that that would be a good question to cover for folks who may be asking about small meetings or groups on campus.
I think in most cases that probably is true. I want the faculty to feel as comfortable and the students to feel as comfortable that there is not that they feel unsafe in any way. So I think as much as possible, I think those meetings certainly should be done Zoom-wise or some other way, team-wise, as we move along. Certainly, we're all learning how to do it.
Is there an effort to prioritize in-person instead of online classes for those classes with higher freshman enrollment?
Yes, ma'am, there is. And yes, sir, there is. Both. Yes, we want to make sure our freshmen have, we don't want any freshmen to have more than one online course. And if possible, we do hope they have none. We want them to be a part of the group, get to know everybody, and do this in person. So yes, we will be prioritizing making sure that freshmen get this true college experience as much as humanly possible under the circumstances.
When can we get back into our offices to retrieve materials for preparing for fall class or work and to prepare our labs?
I don't know the answer to labs yet. That's still being discussed because I know that will take a little more time. If you need to get back in your office, you can do that now with the procedures we have on campus. You must contact either your dean or your chair. You must let them know when you're coming, what the time frame is, let them know when you've left, so that if we would have an issue, then we have the information we need for contact tracing. So you could do that now if you need to come, but now we're not talking about opening campus. We're still having under the rules that we talked about. And I think those rules will probably stay into effect for quite a while, probably through August, but I'm sorry, through July. But if you have a special need, please reach out to your dean or to your chair, and they will help you facilitate that, because I want you to have the materials you need. Labs, as I said, will be a little bit later, and we will let everybody know about that. And I'll put that down, Jen, put that down for one of the questions that we'll make sure we answer as soon as we know the answer. Okay?
Absolutely. And to follow up on that regarding labs, we do have some specific questions about certain labs on campus and the size that they are. You know, maybe we might want to share a little bit about what we know about labs right now, or what we anticipate to know soon.
Well, I think the first thing we know is that we are going to have some different looking labs, and we have to have distancing in them. We're also looking at plexiglass for them. We also are looking at some online and some Zoom alternatives for some of the experiments, so that we will be able to do an experiment or two online, and then when they come to class, that will take it up. Because the main concern we have is that, first of all, the safety of the student and the faculty. But the second is we want to make sure that you get all the information you need and all of the materials you need for that class. And so the instructors are working very hard. They've been making some really good ways of doing this. So as we move along, we'll be a little more specific, actually a little closer to going on campus. We may bring on a couple of the faculty members and let them explain to you exactly how we're going to do that to make it safe.
How will everyone receive the results of their COVID-19 test?
Well, that's a question I haven't been asked. I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming that once we get all the results back, we can send out the fact that unless you were notified, you know, that you're fine. I don't know the answer to that, but I will find it out. But I do know that they are working very hard to work with not only a company, but WVU on their main campus is working on a lab so that they can have results back fairly quickly.
Yes, and from what I heard yesterday as well, that group that's doing all that planning in Morgantown will be working with the regional campuses to implement that testing and procedure once they have everything ironed out for the regional campuses. So we will hopefully know more about that very soon. Our next question is several labs of, another question about specific labs, and will wearing masks in those labs be adequate, or will there be additional support within labs? I know you touched on that some, but maybe there's additional clarification for things that are, the piece of equipment is only one on the campus, so a lot of students would be using it.
Well, if we have a piece of equipment that only one on campus, it will be cleaned after we will have cleaning supplies so it can be wiped down and sanitized between. But I don't know that, and maybe as we talk with our faculty members, there may be some things that students will have to wear gloves with along with a mask. So we will make sure that those gloves are available and are able to have that. And then we're looking at some plexiglass for some issues. So as we move forward, we're working very closely. We're going to be working very closely with the faculty members to make sure that they feel comfortable, because it's not just the labs. It's also like, I know some of the civil engineering, they have equipment that goes out, and we have to make sure that it's clean, and gloves may also be required for some of that.
There was one other question in the chat, but we're going to respond to that via text because it was covered earlier in the call. So I don't see any other questions that have come through. Is there any other thoughts or general information you'd want to share, Carolyn?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of things. I had a list of things, but I didn't want to do it if there were questions, because I wanted the questions to be answered first. And I'm sorry that there are a couple of things I don't have the answer to, but that's the way it is right now. And I'd rather give you an answer of I don't know, and I will find the answer out, than to give you the wrong answer. I do want you to be very aware that there are going to be travel restrictions. We're not going to be allowed to travel a whole lot, especially in state and out of state for things. So we're going to have to adapt as we do those things. There is going to be some adjustments for faculty when it comes to tenure and things like that, that will make sure that we are not harming you in any way as you move forward. And those will be discussions later on as we go along. I wanted to make sure you knew that most of our events are going to be scaled down a great deal, and some events we won't have that we usually had. And one of those is because of the fact that we are going to have to use some of our larger spaces for classrooms. And that's very important to us. So there are a lot of things we're going to have to do. And as we move forward, if you are planning on an event, if you are planning something that you have in a grant or something, we need at least 2 or 3 months advance notice, because those things will have to have very strict protocols. They will have to be approved not only by us, but the main campus, and there will have to be a plan. That is a written plan of how you make sure that people are safe and where it's going to happen. And that will be true whether that event is on campus or off campus. So I want to make sure everybody understands this is not going to be as easy as it used to be. We can't just go to the Civic Center and rent the rooms and do something, because our students, our faculty, and our staff's safety is very important. And this contact tracing, is going to be very important on a campus. That's one of the reasons when I said you can come back to your offices, but we need to know, because if something happens, we need to know who's been around who and who has seen who has had contact. And those are the things that are very important as we move forward to keep everybody safe and sound. Academics, of course, as I said, I want to tell you how proud I am of Tech and how hard we are working to make sure that not only maintain the high standards of academics, but we find ways to be flexible and making sure our students are getting the very best education possible, which we've always done. The other thing I'd like to say is that we have a lot of things going on in the country that all of us are dealing with. We're dealing with this on campus. We're dealing with this off campus. There's things on the news that are very disturbing and make us wonder, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make sure as Golden Bears that we do better? So I want you to know that as we come back on campus, we're going to start some campus conversations, because we want to be first good listeners. We want to know, what are you thinking? What have we not done as well as we should? What can we do better? Or what are we doing really great that we need to expand? So we're going to have some campus conversations about all the issues that the world is dealing with, especially the United States is now. So I want you to know that it's very important for us that everyone knows that we are a campus, an inclusive campus. We embrace our students, no matter who they are, where they come from. no matter what. We embrace our students. We all need to learn and to listen. We all will need to do better. And I being one of those. Nobody's going to be excluded from this. And I just wanted you to know that we are not ignorant of what's going on, or we've not ignored it. We've had great conversations about how we move forward and move forward positively. We will not accept any kind of discrimination on this campus at Tech under any circumstances, period. I don't need to elaborate. We just will not. And so as we move forward with the tensions that are going on in the country, with us all learning new things, new technology, all of us learning not to see everybody we'd like to see. And on a personal note, I get to see my grandchildren, but because my daughter is a doctor in the emergency room, I've not got to hug them for over 3 months. And if you don't think that's tough, wait till you have grandchildren or children and not be able to do that. But we've all had to do that, and we all have to cope. We've had our good days, we've had our bad days. But what I'm asking everyone on this campus is that, first of all, we reach out to any student that is having problems or having a difficulty and make sure they know that we're here. We're still here. We may be on this silly Zoom, but we're still here for them. Reach out to everyone and stop and take a deep breath, because we're going to be all right. We're going to find a way to make this as positive as humanly possible. But we need to be kind. We need not to jab at each other. We don't need to say, don't like this or that. We can be honest, we can be forthright, and we can have very open discussions. But I want all of us to learn to be a little kinder, to listen a little better, and to be safe. I am so privileged to be the campus president at WVU Tech, even under these tough times. So I want to thank you for the support that you have given to everybody else, and especially me. So that being said, we will try our best to come back in another couple of weeks, have these things and have more questions. I hope I have more answers for you. The questions I couldn't answer, we'll try our best by that time. This is being recorded, and you'll be able to go in, and as I said before, you'll be able to go to the website, and I believe Zach has put up the website for us, that some of the websites that you might be interested in. I hope at the next one we can have more students. I'd like to have some questions from students also, and parents. I want parents to be involved. So Jen, do we have anything else we need before we say goodbye?
We had a question about athletics and travel. We did respond in the text, but if you want to talk a little bit about travel impacts and maybe talking about the importance of limiting contact and practicing social distancing, not only on campus, but as we go out into the community or if we potentially travel.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be very cognitive of that. That's why masks are important. I don't have a mask on today, but when you see me leave the building, if you're here today, I will have a mask on, because I'm very cautious of that. Not because I'm afraid of somebody else. I really want to protect people if there would happen to be any chance that I might have it. I don't think I do, but we don't know. So travel will be an issue as we go along. We're working with that. Actually, I'm meeting with all the coaches in the athletic department, the head coaches on Monday, to discuss travel and how we're going to handle that. We have protocol for that. We have protocol about cleaning buses. We have protocol about cleaning locker rooms. We have protocol of what we will do when we're visiting. And so all of that eventually will be on the website of how we do that. So we want to keep all of our students, which of course includes our athletes that will be visiting other venues, safe and sound. So yes, we will have a lot of that as we go on. Any other questions?
That's all, Carolyn.
Okay, folks, again, I appreciate all of you. Be safe, be happy, be kind. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.